Hi everyone, welcome to week 11 of English 97. We're working on drafting essay 4 this week, so I am just going to walk you through some tips to keep in mind, kind of inspired by the readings in our text this week, and then you'll be able to kind of get started with those. So first of all, you've got a couple assignments this week. All right, for week 11, we have a couple of readings, page 232 to 236 in your textbook, and then the reading Wedding Bliss on page 253. This is a bit of an adjustment from our syllabus, which had you reading Why Chinese Mothers Are Superior. But this Wedding Bliss example is a topic we haven't talked about yet, and I thought it might be interesting to do the swap. So your discussion board based on that Wedding Bliss reading is due Thursday, and then your essay 4 draft is due on Sunday. So we are pretty, I think, adept at going from outline to draft by now, but I wanted to go over a few points just to keep in mind. So when you're thinking about how you want to organize your essay 4, you can organize it by how you worked your outline. But as you go, I want you to think about which type of organization would make the most sense for you. So there are two options when you're comparing a decision or the results of a decision. You can compare both options in each paragraph and just compare a different feature. So you could have an introduction and then your next paragraph talks about both the costs, and then the next paragraph talks about both profits, and the next both appearance. Or you can organize by subject. So maybe the first half of the essay talks about option 1, the second half of the essay talks about option 2, and then at the end you say which you would choose. So either one works. I want you just to think about, though, which works better for you. So to give you an example, say I'm writing an essay about pit bulls and golden retrievers. This is a picture of not my pit bull, but mine looks very similar. So in my introduction, I might say, have you ever wondered if a pit bull is the right dog for you? Due to their calm demeanor, loyalty, and smarts, they make better pets than golden retrievers. My introduction would be longer, but this was just what I came up with for starters. And maybe in my first paragraph, I talk about both dogs and what they look like and their size, and compare that. Then in paragraph 2, I could talk about both dogs and how they interact with kids. My third paragraph could be about their loyalty and their interactions with people. And then paragraph 4 could talk about training with either dog. In my conclusion, I would talk about considering adopting a pit bull, because when people think about a American classic dog, they often think of a golden retriever. But in my experience, pit bulls make just as good, if not better, family pets. So this is how I might organize my topic. I could spend the first half of the essay talking about golden retrievers and then the second half about pit bulls, but I decided that I wanted to make it clear that I can compare both of them in each of these sort of features. I didn't want to spend half the essay talking about golden retrievers and then my audience kind of be like, oh, well, golden retriever sounds good to me. Because in my opinion, I think one is better than the other. But if you're comparing two things that are really, you're kind of doing one of these, they're quite similar, then you could do the organizing by subject. It really depends on who you're writing to and what you're writing about. All right, so remember your audience and remember why you're writing to them. So the conclusion is really important for this essay, and I wanted to kind of highlight a couple options here as well. So your conclusion really helps your reader make an overall decision. So this is where you say, based on everything I've talked about, this is what you should do next. So there are a couple options. A clear-cut conclusion is the one we've probably practiced the most this semester, where you have one recommendation. So for example, I would talk about how pit bulls make far better pets than golden retrievers. There it is. There's only one decision in my mind. I could do something that's called a qualified conclusion, which makes a recommendation based on the reader situation. So maybe I could say, if you live in an apartment, a pit bull is a better choice. They don't need, as consistent exercise. They do need to be walked, but they tend to not need as much room as retrievers do. Whereas if you live in a home with a yard, a golden retriever would be happier there. Or if you feel like the two subjects you're comparing are actually quite similar, you could kind of do a flip a coin. There's not a huge difference between the choices here. So I could say either dog would make a great family pet. Really, it depends on how I want to write and what I think about the options I'm giving. So for me, I personally think that pit bulls are way better, and that's how I would frame my essay. So something that might help you as you're kind of drafting this week is reading the sample draft on page 235. It's called Comparing Electric Cars. I think this topic's actually very interesting and getting even more current. I drive a hybrid, but I have considered buying an electric car. So I'd like you to take a second, pause the video, and consider these questions. How does the writer start their essay and why? What comparisons do they make between their subjects? What do they write about in the conclusion? And then are there any points that you would add to the essay that the writer has not considered? So go ahead and pause this video. After you come back, I'll discuss what I got from it, but I'd like to see how it compares to yours. All right, so here was what I got from the comparing electric cars example. They started their essay talking about why we have a need for electric cars, which I think is great because it kind of draws your reader into that situation. And then they mentioned the models they're going to discuss. In the middle, they kind of use that point by point organizational model where they have that second paragraph talks about how the cars work. The third talks about both models and features. The fourth talks about performance, looks, price, gas mileage. In their conclusion, they do a bit of a flip a coin. They say, based on the situation, choose either the Volt or the Leaf for an electric car. Although they do sort of qualify it a little bit. If you have a family of 5, you should have the Volt. If you don't drive as much, choose the Leaf. And then I thought that they don't really discuss in depth the environmental impact of either car. I would like, just as a reader, I'm interested in that, so I'd like to see a bit more from that. But if your first draft of Essay 4 ends up looking similar to this comparing electric cars, you are in a great place. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys as you start drafting Essay 4. I'm really excited to see how it goes for you, and I will talk to you soon.